knowledge that we're going to be on TV would affect the way that we behave.
Media trials get influenced by the general perceptions of the people instead of accuracy.
Well, if the trial is ethically incorrect or flawed, then it automatically not only loses faith, but it also loses a lot of importance.
Media should limit itself to giving out opinions and facts, and determination of guilt should be left on the judiciary.
Any kind of premature judgment made by the media could wrongly damage the reputation of the people and organizations involved.
Hello and welcome to the live panel discussion by Jindal School of Journalism and Communication. This is your host Ananya, and we'll be discussing world's present big issue, trial by media. Mainstream media plays a crucial role during the lockdown, as TV news channels become an important platform for communications between the government and the people at large. In the criminal sphere, sometimes media profits evidence which even the investigative bodies fail to gather. On several occasions, the ethos of media have been challenged. Social media, which connected millions, also became a threat to justice. I'm glad to have Ms. Shelja Bajpai, who is writing for television for the last 36 years and is currently editor, media and skills development at The Print. Ms. Repti Lal, who's an independent journalist, Professor Tim Crook, who's an emeritus professor at Goldsmiths University and have keen interest in international media law and ethics, and Dr. Akhil Prasad, who's currently with Boeing India and has a PhD in law and media piracy. So recently we experienced a raging storm in both social and electronic media. On the death of actor Sushant Singh Rajput, when media came out with different shades of opinion. So coming on to today's discussion, I would like Ms. Shelja to explain where is the line to be drawn between a commendable investigative journalism and a manifested witch hunt.
Hi, thank you for having me here this morning. I think to be very brief since time is limited.
Excuse me, ma'am, I think you need to tilt forward your laptop. You can see your head.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine.
I said, I think, we have to be very clear that we're talking about isolated cases on television, like the Sushant Singh Rajput case, where, as most of us know who watched it, everything that could go wrong went wrong in the coverage, from the facts to the sensationalism in the case. But if you look more closely at especially print media, you will see genuine investigative journalism there, with facts, with opinion, with a broad spectrum of opinion from all sides, so that these isolated cases actually are on television rather than in print. And if we, on the question of overreach, there is so much overreach on the electronic media and in social media that it's very difficult to isolate and say, where does it happen? It's happening almost every day. Primarily also because this is a financial issue, that it's easier for the TV channels, for instance, just to pursue one topic relentlessly and therefore get into trouble, whether with facts or with legal issues that they cover, rather than just sticking to different stories and carrying on.
Right. So, Dr. Akhil, as we know, the right to fair trial and fair investigation is the part of Indian Constitution. Till what extent media trials hamper or help the interests of judicial procedure of justice?
So first of all, I would like to thank Jindal University for inviting me to this very important forum, which I much congratulate the students that they're doing a wonderful job. My belief is that both the media and the judiciary, they complement each other. But when we say trial by media, so that trial will always happen through the courts. Media will always, put pressure to bring to light if some injustice is happening, or where, the investigative authorities have, not done their work properly. So I would see both as complementing each other, so that whatever gets overlooked by the investigative agency, whether it's by the so when we are talking about some criminal acts, like what we are talking about, Sushant Singh Rajput's alleged suicide or murder. So if the investigative agencies fail to perform their part, or if they are lacking in something which is necessary to bring justice to the fore, I would definitely believe that media plays a very important part there. And it's not only about Sushant Singh Rajput. We have seen in other instances like Jessica Lal or Arushi, where media has genuinely played a very strong role in terms of bringing back the focus on how and the outrage of people to the investigative agency. It may or may not work. It may or may not work that the media, what media is saying or writing or printing, it may not eventually work to determine the actual case per se, which is within the jurisdiction of the courts. But it does put a lot of spotlight back on things which were overlooked earlier by these investigative agency. And that's where I definitely feel there has to be the right balance. We should not say that media should not do this. It's the job of media to bring everything to light which media believes and has evidence that should be brought before its audience. But ultimately, we must appreciate that the role of a judge or an
Right.
investigating agency is equally difficult, because they have to look at the evidence and then provide judgment based upon the various precedents which have happened, the various evidences which are there. So that is my opening remark, Ananya, that
Thank
I
you so
believe
much.
that
Yeah.
trial by media perhaps does not exist. I think what
Yeah.
does exist is that the focus which media brings to the fore is something which should be always be promoted and encouraged.
Right. So, Professor Crook, would you like to talk about some case which was controversial due to media trial in the United Kingdom, and what ethics should be kept in mind, according to you, during investigative journalism?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the privilege of taking part in this very important discussion and being in the company of distinguished guests who've already made excellent points. In the United Kingdom, we have a balance between the legal system of protecting trial by jury and the media being able to exercise freedom of expression to investigate matters of great public interest. Yes, there have been dreadful but isolated cases of things going wrong. I'm thinking of 2010, Christmas going into the new year, when a respected retired teacher who was a landlord in the western city of Bristol was arrested for the murder of a young professional woman who was one of his tenants. And he was overwhelmingly vilified, and to use a slang, he was monstered by mainstream professional media. There were very few news organizations that didn't resist and challenge highly prejudicial, really fictional content that, in a country that depends on trial by lay jurors, was judged by the legal system and Parliament to have undermined his future right to a fair trial, and in particular prevent people who may have been willing to come forward to help his defence from doing so. Well, there the balance was struck. He could sue for libel, and he collected hundreds of thousands of pounds in damages from 8 mainstream news organisations. And the legal system also prosecuted 2 of the popular newspapers for contempt of court, criminal procedure, and they were fined. There was an occasion in 1948 when the editor of a popular newspaper was in fact jailed for 3 months for running prejudicial coverage.
Right. So, Ms. Trepti, what do you think how media should self-regulate itself in the times of social media, and also when some news channels actually sensationalize the cases? Okay, wait. I think, yeah, you were on mute, right? Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I'm saying that I think that the media does regulate itself by and large, and whatever the media does not do, its consumers do. However, if you're looking at the tabloid press, both in print and television as well as online, then I would say that's the wrong place to look, because that's not even up for discussion. Those are not even, I wouldn't even call them the media or serious players in the market. They do have, one can say they have influence, but that's just like the next spicy tidbit they're offering as entertainment up to people. And I'm not so sure how seriously even its consumers take it in terms of influencing them in the long run. So I'd rather focus on the serious media players. And there I'd say the old time tested way of checking what you're doing, checking facts, checking the veracity of what you're saying, is what the credibility of that particular media house rests on. And when it shows itself as being tabloid, it's put in that slot by the people. So
Right.
I think there is a danger with going into this conversation on regulation based on tabloid press, because it allows governments, particularly ours, which is totalitarian tending, to kind of take advantage of this and firstly give credibility to tabloid press as if it is the real thing, which it's not, which is a smokescreen. And secondly, to add to that, what it allows them to do is to have give the impression of that tabloid press having a much greater influence than it actually does, and to draw a correlation between the numbers of the tabloid press, the number of consumers, and its influence. Whereas we've seen that influence is not always proportional to numbers, which means that someone who consumes, let's say, a magazine which has a very small circulation, or a website that has a very small circulation, their influence may be highly disproportionate to their consumer base. And what that means is that this is the reason why the government sort of breathes down the necks of these investigative journalists when they do produce a story which they think will have political ramifications that are adverse to the government. And
Right.
the reason that they swoop down upon them and slap them with all kinds of other cases, which may or may not be related to any ongoing sort of tax issue, but they will use this time to kind of question them on other grounds, to kind of send the message that do not produce adverse stories. But when the fact that they're doing that tells you how influential a good investigative piece of journalism really is, even in this country. And by going into this conversation on media trials, what is actually doing is to give more totalitarian tending regimes legitimate reason to control the press.
Right, right. So, winding up, I think we are left with hardly 1.5 minutes because of the short time. So, I would like to ask, everyone, if you have words for it. Like, these days, everything, it is like said in a general public thing that, media does everything for TRP or rating. A lot of Indian news channels basically does that. So, what do you think on international platform where we are as a media or as a democratic country? So
Well,
yeah, if anyone,
what
yeah.
I would say is that the bigger issue in 2020 and going into the 21st century is not necessarily trial by mainstream media, but trial by social media. And also, when there are bad experiences, responding to those it doesn't justify making bad laws and overreacting. So recently we had false accusations against public figures of child abuse. It was stimulated largely by poor police inquiry. This has led to the banning now, really effectively, of identifying criminal suspects before charge. That's a wrong move, and that's one of the major risks. And now, of course, media is in international global context, and we can't discount the fact you cannot regulate, or certainly professional media such as myself in the United Kingdom, where I'm president of the Chartered Institute of Journalists, we cannot be held responsible for the social media sphere.
Okay. So I believe this is all about the balance between judiciary, constitution, and the media. So this is all, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into JSJC TV and our distinguished guest. for being here today. And I hope to see you all for more panel discussions with JSJC TV in future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.